Hi, Michelle Cox here. Today we're going to talk about tort liability. What is tort? Tort is an actionable or civil wrong committed against one person by another that is independent of contract. If injury occurs as a result of the actions of school personnel, liability charges could happen or occur. So it's when you're committing a wrong against another person. There are intentional torts and unintentional torts. An intentional tort is an offense committed by an individual who intends to do harm on another person. They also understand that their actions may cause harm. Some examples of intentional tort include battery. This is described as an intentional, harmful, or offensive touching of another person. Defamation is a tort or civil wrong. It occurs when false statements are made about another person. Assault is another example of giving someone the reasonable belief that you're about to make harmful or offensive contact with them. And another form of tort is negligence, characterized as a failure to exercise the standard of care that a reasonably prudent person would have exercised in a similar situation. When I read on different cases, negligence was the number one cause that I saw that schools are accused of the most. Unintentional torts. An unintentional tort is a wrong perpetrated by someone who fails to exercise that degree of care in doing what is otherwise permissible. Negligence is perhaps the most prevalent source of litigation involving injury to students. An unintentional tort, basically, they didn't mean to do it, but it happened anyway. Frame versus Camus, I believe is how you maybe say that. This case basically was talked about how a student was disruptive in class, kept talking out. The teacher eventually approached the kid and grabbed him by his arm, and then it made the kid fall off balance, and he stumbled backwards down the aisle, and he hit the podium and came to a halt against the blackboard, and then was eventually removed from the class. The result was this case, even though the teacher committed battery, the court found that he had reason to do so in order to keep class in order. And they said that the child kind of provoked it to happen. So they didn't get away with it. Frame versus Camus continued. If this happened in your school, what reactive measures do you think you would have occurred as a result? I believe that if a person was taken to court for battery or assault in our school, they would probably be put on temporary leave until everything was figured out. Some proactive measures to prevent this kind of from assault or battery happening would be to have positive behavior conduct policies put into place and positive behavior supports put into place, and making sure that your staff is abiding by them and aware of them. Describe a set of professional ethics that would be beneficial in regards to tort liability. In this situation, I think that some professional ethics that the staff members should have in place is that they need to be acting respectful and professional at all times, especially when dealing with misconduct and behavior. And we also need to make sure that we're respecting personal space of others. That's that case. The next case is Flanagan versus Canton. This case synopsis was basically the students were misbehaving as a whole class, and the teacher stopped class early to talk with the students about their misbehavior. Then they went and got changed in the locker room. The PE teacher usually supervises the locker room during this time, but instead he was talking to a student for, they said, about 3 to 4 minutes in the gym. During this time, a kid pushed another kid, and it caused him to fall into a locker and a bench and caused some injuries. Therefore, the mom sued the school district due to lack of supervision. The result was the courts ultimately sided with the student and stated that since the students were misbehaving as a whole, the teacher should have supervised the locker room more that day. If this happened in our school, what reactive measures might occur is that it would be mandatory for teachers to supervise the locker rooms at all times. Behavior plans would be created and implemented for when a whole class is misbehaving. Probably an increase of supervision would also occur. What proactive measures would you do to prevent torts from happening? Increase supervision and make sure that expectations are clear on supervision and expectations are clear when dealing with misbehaviors. Describe how a set of professional ethics would be beneficial. Some professional ethics that would be beneficial in this case are problem-solving skills and behavior management skills. The next case is Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School District. This case involved a 14-year-old special ed student who ended up having sexual assault cases with a 19-year-old who was also in special ed. It was after school hours and not on school premises, but the result was that the school was negligent because this kids left during the school day. They had unexcused absence, but nothing was followed up from it. Also, they were just stating that these kids are the kids with the severe means. They should have had more supervision. And the two kids also were seen kissing earlier on in the school year, so they should have been talked to about their sexual behaviors. Some things that reactive measures, I think that also an increase of supervision would occur, and there would be protocol for attendance and unexcused absences would probably be reviewed. Proactive measures, I think that just making sure that everybody is aware of your unexcused absences and what is the protocol for that, especially for students with severe disabilities. What are we going to do if they do leave school grounds and we are aware of it, or if we're not aware of it, what do we do immediately following that to make sure that they are safe and that nothing happens off grounds or on grounds. Describe a set of professional ethics. In this scenario, I think communication was the key that was lacking, and just some problem-solving skills of protocol. Those are things that need to be happening in order for these things to not occur. Home versus Manhattan Beach City School District. This was a case where a kid went to summer school. He left summer school early, and he got hit by a motorcycler and had major injuries occur. In this case, the result was the court decided that the student's injuries were not foreseeable risk that was created by the school district's failure to exercise due care in supervising its pupils. So it was dismissed. If this happened in our school, obviously, again, we would have protocol for students leaving school grounds, a checkout system. We would also maybe talk about what is considered school grounds, what proactive measures could be to prevent this, have appropriate protocol for students leaving early, describe a set of professional ethics. In this case would be to document a student leaving school, where they're going, who are they going with, to make sure that we are communicating where they are going. Brett versus USD number 259. This was actually in Wichita. A 12th grader student collapsed on a practice field after a mandatory football practice. He died in the hospital the next day. A wrongful death action was filed. The court trial was very confusing to me, but I believed it ruled that the coaching negligence was not the cause of the injury. The student expressed that he needed water. The coach gave him water and gave him a break in time, and it seemed that he ended up getting heat exhaustion. If this happened in our school, what reactive measures do you think would occur? They would probably review their sports policies and their safety policies, especially when it comes to heat exposure. I would think they would have a meeting with all of the teams and the coaches to make sure that the kids are aware of what to do if they are feeling like they're getting heat exhaustion. So professional ethics that would be beneficial in this situation is just good communication with the teammates, with with all the coaches and the organization, and to make sure that we're having good procedures put in place that are being used when dealing with safety procedures. That is my presentation. Thank you for joining. Have a good day.